Yeah, okay, I got all that. Oh, wait a minute. Hello? Yeah? Would you plant? Well, let's talk about this a minute. Do you plant or do you not plant? That seems like to be the #1 question of the week. To make my decision on planting corn, which seems to be the $1,000,000 question, there's 2 criteria that are important to me. One is ground conditions. If our ground conditions are good, which we actually have because we've had an extended period of dry weather. I like ground conditions that crumble, that don't ribbon on me, and that you can close comfortably. Those are good ground conditions. There's no doubt we have good ground conditions right now. So history has shown that early planting dates yield the best. What it may not factor in, however, is that's assuming that your evenness and your stand is the same planted early as it is planted late. The second thing that matters to me in planting corn is what is the extended forecast? And we can look at our extended forecast today, and that's what's raising a lot of question marks with guys right now.
We want you to avoid planting within 36 hours of a forecasted rain. Corn or beans can't handle a cold first drink. So if we're sticking them into ground conditions like this that are good, that have moisture, they're able to imbibe and block out those cold rains that are 36 hours or more in the future.
If that first moisture that kernel imbibes is a cold, wet rain, that could be detrimental. We can give up germination, we can give up evenness, we open the door to pythium and some seed rots. And so that's the reason why we're a little hesitant today, is because our long range forecast is continued cold and we have some additional rain chances coming. We subscribe to an app on our phone that we've used now for a few years from BAM Weather. It's been very good for us. It's been very accurate. There's a lot of features they have that are beneficial that go beyond just deciding when to plant or not. But there's a great feature they have, and they have a GDU accumulator by day. And you can look at that app and decide and predict how many GDUs you're going to accumulate per day. Let's understand GDUs in terms of emergence. So a corn crop takes about 120 or so GDUs to emergence. That's not to germination, but to emergence out of the ground. Now granted, those will change a little bit by varieties, but that's generally what's required. If we think back to a couple weeks ago when it was 80 degrees, just think in 80-degree weather, we were accumulating 15 to 20 GDUs per day. You can look at GDU accumulations and we can see that days like Monday and Tuesday of this week, we're gonna accumulate 0 GDUs. If we fast forward into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, our GDU counts are going to be between 0 and about 8 per day. In the event that we're accumulating 0 to 8 per day, it could take 3 weeks to get our crop out of the ground.
So this corn was planted sometime last week, hasn't quite been 7 days, and you can tell that it hasn't taken on very many GDUs or hasn't experienced that many. We don't have any germination yet. Still doesn't really look like it's swollen very much even.
What's really important to us is evenness on corn, meaning every ear at the same node, every growth stage at the same node from plant to plant is the key to raising big yields. When we are only getting 5 or so heat units a day, that's going to drastically delay our emergence. And so to gain that evenness becomes more and more of a challenge. So today, we don't have the ability to orient the position of our seed. In a perfect world, if we can orient every seed spike down, our uniformity of emergence will drastically go up.
Orientation on these last 2 that I pulled out of the ground was both with the row, so that spike was not up or down with either one of those.
When we're accumulating 15 to 20 heat units a day like we were 2 weeks ago, corn will fire much more closely together. When we're only accumulating 5 a day and you spread out that accumulation of heat units to get it out of the ground, when you have corn that's horizontal, kernels that are spiked down and kernels that are spiked up, it'll be very difficult to get uniformity emergence to occur. A major key to big yields is to get corn out of the ground within 36 hours of each other, preferably 12 if I could pick my number. But the further you get away from a 36-hour separation of plant to plant, your uniformity goes down, and therefore your ability to raise big numbers like we want goes down. So you have to factor that in when you look at the weather today and when you look at the forecast in the future. And that's why we're a little fearful to get super excited on corn until we know more of what our long range forecast looks like in terms of temperature and in terms of rainfall. That's why today we have lesser of a risk to plant beans or to start with beans, because evenness in beans does not affect yield like it does in corn.
This was planted on April 19th. Today is April 24th. That soybean has imbibed and it's starting to germinate. So beans will actually require more moisture to imbibe and start growing than a corn plant will. So it requires about 50% of its weight in water to get going, where corn is only about 35%. You know, with beans you need 100, maybe even all the way up to 130 GDUs for that to fully emerge. I don't know exactly how many this has gotten so far in the last week of its life, but it's not going to be getting very many in the next couple days.
Seed treatments today are very tolerant, particularly of cold and wet weather. Just like corn though, beans will not like a first cold, wet drink. So be cognizant of that.
Guys, this is a tough choice, but the beautiful part about this is it's still early. We can plant really fast. I have no doubt that you'll be able to get the crop in if you decide not to plant in this window.
But in our opinion, you have more to gain with beans and less to lose. We have a lot of calendar left in our favor that if we have to redo beans, and with replant policies and crop insurance today, you don't have a lot to lose in that world. Our suggestion currently is to plant beans. We're not fearful of planting beans, and it is to hold on corn for a day or two, see how the forecast changes, and then make a decision to move forward. If it's more of the same, I'd wait longer on corn. If the forecast does in fact change our favor, then let's go.
Okay guys, thanks for watching.